Welcome to another Love Lessons episode where we talk about what we've learned and how we've grown in love and relationships. On this show, we are going to talk about what it takes to build a healthy, sustainable, resilient relationship. What it takes for you to get and stay in a healthy relationships. Stick around for the whole show so that you can hear our love stories and our love lessons. Some are personal stories, but others are submitted from guests. Again, thank you for tuning in to another Love Lessons podcast with the Hesters. Welcome to another Love Lessons. I am so excited to be back because it has definitely been a while and we are ready. It is 2022 and we are ready. So today's topic is, does a man need a wife? Where did this come from? Well, I know before I met my wonderful husband, I was basically starting the journey of Love Lessons where I was talking to single people, married people. I just wanted to understand more about love and relationships. And I noticed when I would talk to certain type of guys, they just did not see a need for a woman in their life, except for intimacy. So we can go a number of different ways with this, but I definitely thought that this would be an interesting topic. So, of course, this is Love Lessons with the Hesters. So I'm so glad that my wonderful, amazing husband decided to do this with me.
Thank you.
Because I definitely need that male point of view, right?
Amen.
So that being said, I noticed that when I would talk to guys that didn't really see the value in a woman or let alone a wife, when I first mentioned it to you, I think you corrected me when I said, does a man need a woman, or what are reasons why a man would need a woman, like from their point of view, and why do they feel like they don't need a woman? Because I've had men say, I can cook for myself, I can clean for myself, I can, of course they can get their own income and take care of themselves financially, but it was kind of like, they were like, what's the point? So, and I didn't understand where that was coming from. So when we talked about it, you corrected me and said, no, does a man need a wife? You said you don't remember.
I don't remember that.
You don't recall, but I know you did correct me. So
yeah, women remember when they get corrected.
Yes, we do. So I was definitely, you said no, does a man. I was like, oh, that's really good. So what's the difference?
Are you asking me, you want me to answer that?
From a man's point of view, I know from a woman's point of view, there is definitely a difference between a woman and a wife. But I think it's important to understand a man's point of view because if we look at the trending topics with Kevin Samuels, with him talking about what's your dress size and men don't care anything about your degrees. And so obviously a lot of women do not understand from a male's point of view the value of a woman. So
I think you said something very interesting that I believe needs to be looked at and kind of unwrapped. And it doesn't have to necessarily be during this session. However, I think that, and I'm going to say it, with the feminist movement, I'm strong, I'm independent, the value system has changed. So whereas you have this equality going on with men and women, women can do the same thing men can do and everything of that nature. what women value in themselves has kind of changed from what like our grandmothers would have valued in themselves. This you brought up Kevin Samuels, so I'll say what he refers to the modern woman as opposed to what our grandmothers valued in themselves. For example, our grandmothers valued in themselves taking care of the children, taking care of household things, the cooking, um, making sure the children were raised right. That's very traditional. We have, now in 2022, we have a modern, most women have a modern outlook on themselves. I'm bossing up, I'm leveling up. And I think at the core, what men find attractive in a woman hasn't changed much from what, from back when our grandmothers, thought of themselves and grandfathers. Personally, I just don't, that's just my personal thought. I don't think, and I'm going to say this too, I don't think a real man, what he looks for in a woman has really changed too much, or a wife has changed too much from like our grandmother and grandfathers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. They definitely value domestic duties a lot more than now. I think that there are men that are good at domestic duties. So so
And
they are. What are you laughing for?
because I think for our age, we're right there on that in between.
Yeah.
Um, so I can see where I still have what many might consider old school values.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my opinion, this is just my opinion.
Okay.
I pray that no one gets offended.
Mm-hmm.
But the type of man you just described that takes over those types of responsibility, he's a simp. Sorry, that's just how I see it.
I thought a simp was just a man that did above and beyond what is necessary
That too.
and required.
Yes.
Just
yes.
because you're good
yes.
at cook. You might be a chef. That's why I said that. Like you just like some men are just really good at certain things that women are, that basically traditional roles between males and females. So that's why all men, I know I was told that in my first marriage that I could cook too. And he didn't say that again because I stopped cooking for a little while after that. And he was like, oh, I didn't mean it so but that, I don't know if it's a generational thing or not, but I definitely was told it. And then I also heard it from, it was actually someone I used to work with. And he said he told his wife the same thing and she didn't it hurt her feelings a little bit but he was a person that he baked beautiful cakes. Like, so he had a bakery and stuff. So he just.
Okay. Let me explain further.
Okay.
I think first of all, I think it was pretty cool that a man is a chef and can cook like that, can throw down like that.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that men who are okay with, for example, the roles being reversed and they're the homemakers. That's how I was raised. From my generation, that's out of order. You're out of place. You're the protector. I was taught I'm the protector. I'm the provider. Um, I am responsible for the mental and emotional and physical needs of my wife. Um, and support her. So that's not to say that after I come home from work I don't help out around the house or anything like that. What I'm saying is, um, as a man, my role is to go out and hunt and bring it back to the house so that my wife can make a meal out of it. Now, um, in those two things you mentioned, these men were chefs, and he was a baker.
Mm-hmm.
Those are professions that potentially have a um, high income.
Mm-hmm.
So that still puts him in the role as the provider. Okay. Does that make sense? So,
yes.
So what I'm talking about is the man that just, I'm sorry, it's just, that's weak to me.
Mm.
And I think a lot of it's nothing personal for a man that chooses to do that. If that's their marriage and that works for them, have at it.
Yeah.
But my personal opinion, I wouldn't feel like a man in that role.
Okay, I gotcha. So
I'd have to go out in the back, dig ditches, and build bricks or something. I couldn't do it.
To provide. So that's one we're gonna eventually do. I told you about this conversation I was having with Isaac, and I was telling him instead of looking for the 666, I was looking for the 3Ps. So the provider, 666. Yeah, the 6-pack, the 6-figure, and the I know, right? The 6-packs, the 6-figure, the 6-pack, the 6 figures, and the 6 foot. If you don't, oh my goodness. So I was not looking for the 666. I was looking for the 3Ps. So it is a little different. The priest.
Wait. What's the
3Ps? The 3Ps is the provider, the priest, and the protector.
Oh, okay. You
so
3Ps.
What is that supposed to mean? Oh, wow.
I'm just...
Okay. Moving on. Back to the topic. We're talking about a woman's or a wife's value and what men value. So I did have, I wanted to share, actually, it was on Clubhouse that I got this list. I surveyed a Clubhouse room, and the men in the room, they were basically, I think in this particular room, they were comparing marriage with prostitution. So, yeah, I saw a face here. So, yeah, I made a face too, like, what is this? So I went in the room, and in that Clubhouse room, they were discussing how marriage could be equated to prostitution because of the services rendered, and you get a return. It's basically an exchange.
Okay.
So I was following the, I guess that comparison, analogy, whatever you want to call it. But I was still like, okay, this is obviously from someone who is not clear on the value of a woman or a wife, because he's that low with it. This was actually a person that he believes in polygamy as well. So I could see why he would come up with a topic like this. But I was, listening, and I'm open as far as hearing other people's point of view. But then I wanted to survey the room to see, like, is it that bad? Like, are men that cynical about?
I think there's a couple of things going on there. Okay, seriously. I think there's a few things that we have to look at. Number one, the gradual breakdown of the family structure, and I'll speak to our community specifically, the gradual and intentional breakdown of the Black family structure. So at this point, I would venture to say that this individual who said these things were fairly young.
I think he was maybe Yeah,
Okay.
he definitely had to be at least 30s. I don't know if he'd hit 40s yet.
See, if he's in his 30s, I have at least 10 years on him. So that's almost, so that's pretty much
maturity.
Just a pretty much another generation where the things that were happening back then, things that are happening now weren't happening back then.
Okay.
I understand that it is much more difficult to establish and maintain meaningful, intimate relationships because society has just inundated us with so much stuff outside of what marriages was supposed to be about in the first place. I think that uh, with that mindset that you were sharing with me of this gentleman, I think there is a severe lack of understanding.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is his fault. I think it's societal. I think it's a societal issue.
Yeah.
I can see, and I can even understand where a man would find it difficult to see value in marriage. And I'll even take it deeper. I I believe that some individuals have a gift of what we call the gift of singleness. Okay? They may not see the value in marriage. They're not interested. They're not.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
This is a little different. Secondly, individuals or men who I would venture to say, and I'm just throwing this out there. This is a question. This is the topic. If anybody wants to respond on our platforms, I would love to hear your thoughts. An individual or a man who is interested in marriage but doesn't see the value in it, doesn't know and understand his purpose.
I would agree. I think that he is searching for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, he was looking for people to encourage him. And the men that did respond, the men that were in the room that were happily married that did respond, he started to get a little encouraged by those responses. So I'm going to share, well, I'm going to ask you what your top 3 traits that you look for or you were looking for before you found me, but in a wife. And then I'll share the list that the men that I surveyed the room came up with. And it might be, some of them might be the same in the next segment. And then we're going to share the love lesson at the end. So stick with it.
Okay.
So now we're really going to get into it because I know this is what, if you clicked on to listen to this recording, you want to know what do men value in a wife? What are they looking for? Does a man need a wife? That's the whole point of listening to the podcast. So, Mr. Hester, what do you think?
Honestly, without being all deep and spiritual, just to be transparent, my top 3. Number 1, she has to be physically attractive enough to hold my attention. And I think any man who tries to downplay that is fronting. She has to be physically attractive enough to hold my attention. Secondly, faithful. Faithful, faithful, faithful. And third, loyal. Loyal, loyal, loyal. Attractive enough to hold my attention, faithful, and loyal. Those are the top 3. Now, there are others, but those would be my top 3.
Is that why a man needs a wife, though?
No, a man needs a wife to. A wife is a helpmeet, and she is to help him fulfill his vision. she is to help him fulfill his purpose. And that's, again, in today's dating scene or what have you, um, men probably look at women a lot. I think a lot of men who even may understand their purpose, their calling, the divine will that God has for them, they may understand that. But when they look looking for a wife, um, they see women operating like men do. So it's like, well, what's the point?
Well, that what I was talking about before is these men that I've been talking to, they're saying that they don't need any help whatsoever. So that's why I'm
They
asking
don't know their.
men,
Then
what is it that you
then I'm saying
value?
then I'm saying, well, what men value, I think that's going to vary.
It is.
You know,
That's
based upon
yeah.
personal. I mean, you have your household culture, what your house was like when you were growing up. You have your personal experiences. Um, I'll even take it a step deeper. Are you evaluating uh, marriage based on a fractured lens of your mind and your heart, your spirit, because you haven't dealt with rejection, you haven't dealt with abandonment, you haven't dealt with maybe previous relationships where infidelity may have taken place. It's all kind of factors that play into that. And I would really like to sit down with uh, a study group of gentlemen to really pick that apart.
Yeah, I think that is something. I'm sorry. Hopefully, I didn't make you lose your train of thought, but I think it's something that it's worth exploring when we write love lessons, how to make a relationship work. That you need to have dealt with that. But I think what I'm trying to understand, and I think a lot of women need to understand it as well, is that the men have to see your value. Like you have to show something. But a lot of times women are thinking, well, I'm showing a lot because they think I do look good, and they think that I did get the degrees, I did get the money, I did. So women are still not very clear on what men value. And some men are saying, I don't need you for anything. So that's why I'm asking you
No,
specifically, so they can get a better idea. Like, not all men are the same. Not all men are just focused only on your outward appearance. There are other things that they're looking for in a wife, because a lot of men don't want bimbos either. So they don't want you to just look good and sit, and then pop up to the door to greet them every day. They want to do a little more. They want you
well,
to do a little more than that.
well, I gave you my top three, but there are others. But what I was going to say is, and again, this is my opinion. Um, a man who does not see the value in marriage, um, it's so you could take this in many directions. I mean, ignorant, ignorant of what the purpose of marriage is for, definitely don't know their purpose. I don't think any man who doesn't see the value in marriage potentially probably does not know their purpose, their divine purpose. Um, or again, like I said, they don't see the value in marriage because they're just not interested in marriage. Um, but I think a big part of it is um, and a lot of people may disagree, especially women. Um, and it's not women's fault, but our society, movie, TV, media, entertainment has hypersexualized women. And many women feel like the value that they have, they bring sexuality. For men, if that's all you have to offer is your body, what do I need to marry you for that for? I can get that without marriage. Is that wrong? Is that right? No. Um, and I'd like to hear women's thoughts on that too. I'd
On
like to hear
what?
on my comment about how society, the mainstream media, entertainment has hypersexualized. It's hypersexualized.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you got for this younger generation, Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion are their role models. That's what they see. That's who they idolize.
Yeah.
So you have women walking around like that, and men from a physical aspect, cool. But then when women like that start talking about marriage, men like, well, what for?
Yeah, well,
What else do you have to offer besides your sexuality?
but I don't know about Cardi B, but in the case of Megan Stallion, she is smart, so she has more than just her physical. She's ambitious. So you said that you were looking for just kind of traits. It wasn't so much help. So that's
Well,
where
I'm
I
just
kind
trying.
of.
Well, I guess I'm just trying to understand from these individuals that you talk about
Mm-hmm.
that don't really value marriage. Um, I I guess I'm trying to see it from their point of view because I don't agree with that. I don't agree. I understand the value of marriage.
Yeah,
I
you
understand the
do.
value of a wife. So for me, it's almost foreign to me. So
Okay, so
when
it's
you
hard to
say, yeah,
understand.
it's hard for me to comprehend that. So I'm just speculating. I could be way off. I could be in totally left field.
Yeah,
I
they
believe
don't
it.
get it.
And my generation, um, most of the individuals in my generation that I come in contact with are married.
So
So
you haven't talked to these
I haven't really
guys.
talked, like a 30-year-old man or a
They're around like
33,
between 35 and 40.
35 and 40. I really
Yeah.
don't, I'll be 50 in March. So I think that I would have to be very intentional and sit down and begin to peel back some layers with some of these young men so I could get a better understanding. And I think that would allow me to bring more value to conversations like this. Because I'm just,
Yeah, you're the perfect person because you do see the value and they don't. You know what I mean? And that's what they were having the room to try to see what is the value. What is the
well, for,
value and all so this is what they would have said something like this, like as far as a woman being loyal and physically attractive, um yeah, she can be my woman, but why would she need to be my wife? Like, what is she bringing more than just being physically attracted?
well, you
Like,
know how I am. Number one, making your woman your wife will bring you up out of some sin. Let's
yeah,
just go ahead and keep it real. It'll bring you up out of some sin. Okay, so there's value right there. It could potentially save you from the flames of hell.
mm-hmm.
There's your value right there. Okay.
Yeah, and I can see why they would have. If you are not a believer, then
Exactly.
that was my point. Like, I didn't really. I think somebody else said it, But my point about it all, why are we even discussing it if you're not a believer because you're taking your vows before the Lord? So what's the point
That's
of
an
even
excellent
doing
point.
that?
That's an excellent
So,
point.
but I noticed that they're still so attracted to marriage or they wouldn't be talking about it, right? And having hours upon hours conversation trying to understand the value. So I'm like, they must not be completely against the idea. So
They just want somebody to convince them.
right. They wanted convincing. That's where I was like, let me ask you what you thought about what kind of things that having a wife, like how does that enhance your life, basically?
Well, here's another thing. Since we kind of took it there, um, I would venture to say that it's probably very hard to see the value of marriage when you have a holy God who is not a man but a spirit. So this institution of marriage was put in place by a spirit. So marriage has a lot to do more with spirituality and your relationship with God than it does with all these monetary things that everybody looks at. So if you don't know God, I guess it would be hard to understand the value of marriage.
But I'll just share what they said because for you it sounds like it's just your faith alone is enough. For you, your faith in God is enough for you to believe that marriage is valuable because God set up it as an institution, and that that's enough.
I mean, he found it very valuable.
Yeah. So, what the guys said that they value in a wife, they said they value their wife's organization, they value their wife's ideas, their intuition, their reassurance, their emotional support. One guy said that his wife being a best friend. One guy mentioned Proverbs 31, and I wrote down productivity because he found that very valuable. So I'm not going to read Proverbs 31, but you can read Proverbs 31 to see what a virtuous woman is. They valued a woman being considerate, a team player, feminine, inspirational, cooperative.
Is she fit, feminine, and cooperative?
Oh my gosh, that's a Kevin Samuels
because you
quote.
See a high value. Never mind. He cracks me.
Yeah, yeah, he does the most with the whole femininity thing, and fitness. I think because he know good and well, most of us are overweight. So just like the women are. Just like the women are looking for this 6-foot man with 6 figures and a 6-pack, like that's not, most men don't look like that. So it's just the whole conversation is silly. But I got derailed. Okay, now back to
I'm just saying.
Yeah, the whole thing is just ridiculous. More than half of America's fat. So he's saying, "Are you fit?" No. Most people, the answer is going to be no. So what else did they say? They said vulnerability. They value that. Her being a trendsetter, her being nurturing, compassionate, having inward beauty, discreet, being a change agent. And they elaborated on what all this was as well. And maybe we could do that in another one, but I just wanted to share this for those listening specifically for this. Honesty, patience, being willing to learn. One man said that their wife, and this was my favorite one, that their wife adds so much value that money can't buy it. So for those men that are like, no, I can pay for services for this, for somebody to cook for me, for somebody to clean for me, for somebody to basically be emotional support as a counselor, like I can pay for everything. And he said his wife does so much for him that he couldn't place a monetary value on it. So that kind of shut down that argument. So I really like that response. Someone to enjoy their life with. So I would take it as her value is their company. And that's kind of what you were saying. Like all you gotta do is be loyal and be here. And look good is kind of like your top,
I'm just
you
being
know.
I'm just being honest
Yeah.
because one of the worst things that I think an individual can experience is someone that they're in love with that really doesn't that's really not into them. And I don't know if I've been there. I don't think it's because of my looks though, but for men, for them to say that looks ain't all that. I mean, when you first see a woman, you know if you're attracted to her or not. So it does play a part. Because if you're not attracted to her, you're not gonna say anything to her.
Yeah, I mean it's important,
But
but I was talking about her value as a wife
well, so
because they'll
okay,
take her. A lot of men will take a woman, and I was one of those women that they looked at me and they didn't see the value in a wife, so they just like, oh, she looks good, she could be my woman, but they didn't take it that step further as far as what could she do to what they knew I was kind of like wifey level, but they just didn't see the point. And it might, like you said, be a maturity thing. Because, but I also have noticed by being married to you, you do value domestic duties and things that wives bring to the table. So one man did say that he did highly value that, like that was something important to him.
because you can cook.
Thank you, babe.
Mm-hmm.
And there, one, I'm almost done through the list. They value a woman having a marriage mindset and her mindset in general, her mind period. Um, One person said being a good mother and being respectful and showing their appreciation, like they
Ooh, that's a big
value.
one.
Yeah, I mean
That's a big one.
they did a great job of sharing what they valued. So I think that I'm not sure if this list is encompassing everything, but I think it did cover a
Well,
lot. So
um, I think that for me, um, and this will vary from probably man to man, but for me, I appreciate the greatness that you see in me, and not necessarily that I need a whole lot of motivation, but you're very encouraging. Um, and another thing, that wasn't in necessarily the top three that is right up there though. Um, you make me feel wanted.
I think that fits into what the other men said was the emotional support and reassurance. Um, I'm not sure as far as feeling wanted. Like, I don't know. I think that I'll have to think about that one.
Desired. You make me feel
Desired.
desired. Like you want me around.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah, I'll
know
have
some
to think about it.
relationships where, hey,
Yeah, I have to think about that one more as far as what a man, what value, because I don't know. I could hear some men being like, well, if she don't want me around, another woman would, kind of thing. So I could see a lot of men
yeah, but if he's in
not
love
really
with her, if
valuing
he's
that.
in love with her,
Then it's gonna matter.
yeah. If he
Yeah.
isn't, when a man is in love, yeah.
Yeah.
um. Also, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, and the reason why I brought that up about, I've seen it face to face, like it was right in my face. Um, we went over a friend's house after church one time, and this couple was married, and all she was doing was trying to take care of her husband, and he acted like she was getting, you know, on his last nerves, and she was trying to cook him a steak, And I couldn't, for the life of me, I couldn't fathom why he was acting like that towards her.
Well, he obviously didn't see her value. And they might have had some other things going on. You never know the backstory with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but hey, at that particular moment right there,
you never know. What did they say? Believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. So it's hard to tell what was going on with that one. But that being said, we are going to get into the love lesson next. I definitely wanted to talk about some signs that they're not serious when they see when you notice that as a woman that he's wanting you to explain yourself and um in that first conversation we'll talk a little bit about that.
what do you mean?
As far as I know that I've talked to men that kind of wanted to do like an interview type of thing. Like, it wasn't a, it wasn't like a date or a conversation to lead up to a date. It was, what do you bring to the table? So I literally felt like I was interviewing for the job to go out on a dates with him or to become, his wife one day. Like, I just really felt like it was an interview. So I think there's some different signs that you could look for. I don't know if this goes the other way. I think this is just kind of for the ladies this time. Um, because I don't know. I know a lot of times you're like, no, it goes both ways, but I don't know. Because I definitely felt like I was on an interview
Well,
with these guys.
I think men do that out of retaliation. That's just my personal opinion.
Maybe.
Because women, it's Janet Jackson's fault.
Oh my gosh.
That what have you done for me lately attitude. And that's why, remember I brought up society and entertainment? They play a big influence on I'm telling you, I remember when, who was that, TLC?
Yeah, No Scrubs.
I remember when they came out with No Scrub. So every dude, okay, back in the day when we was going out, nobody drove their own car. You all piled in with your boy.
Yeah.
We had cars and we'll meet over somebody's house. We'll do what you call quote unquote pregame. You have a few drinks, and then the person who's driving doesn't have a few drinks. They'll wait till they get to. So we'll meet up at somebody's house. Everybody got their own car, and we'll go out. When that song came out, and a guy would try to, one of our boys would try to talk to a girl, and you a scrub, you on the passenger side. This dude got a BMW back at the house. So then, before that, Janet Jackson, what have you done for me lately? Then, that other group, can you pay my bills? Can you pay my telephone bill? Okay, you're expecting all this. And this, that, from a man's perspective, that's a lot. Okay, no problem. What is it about you? Because a lot of these men have the resources. They do. A lot of men have the resources. Okay, no problem. I can do those things. But what is it about you? What do you bring to the table that makes me want to be able to do all that? And I find that women get offended when that question gets asked.
Well, I know for me, I never asked for anything and still being treated as if I had. So I was like, bro, I'm good. you can move on and find someone that's willing to complete your interview process, because I'm not doing that.
I think that's a bit extreme, like just to go out. I think that's a bit extreme.
Yeah.
I think, because of the way things are now, just be honest. I'm a man, so I'm gonna advocate for men. So, but you my wife, so I'm gonna cover you. But from a man's perspective, on the outside looking in, if I wasn't married, I'd be honest with you and tell you what's out there, and it ain't good. I'm sorry, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And here's where I'm pausing, because I'm like, here's where I agree with your boy. Okay.
Who is my boy?
Kevin Samuel.
No, that is not.
Here's where,
to be clear.
Here's where I agree.
Let me put that on the record. It's not my boy.
Here is where I agree. For the type of men that he describes, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a high value man. It just has to be a man, a man's man. You know what I mean? It's, we're logical. So it's like, okay, if I marry you, then what is going to be the outcome? I have to do A, B, and C. I have to do, D, E, and F, which I have no problem with, but where's the value in it? So if the man can't see the value, then, and when you get older, it definitely goes beyond the physicality.
Yeah, that makes sense. I understand what you're saying.
So you have a lot of women, I'm not going to say all, but a lot of women who have unrealistic expectations of men. And now men are starting to say, hey, wait a minute. What about you? Because you do have, look, you have some women who expect so much from men and don't want to work, but a man come home and she sitting up on the phone talking smack, watching Love and Hip Hop, and ain't no food.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just being extreme. But what I'm saying is, my wife keeps pointing at the time. I think she's telling me to wrap it up. So we just wait for that the next time. But I think that men are getting to the point where they have come to the table to, quote unquote, negotiate.
I wanted to take a moment to tell you how excited I am to have a podcast. I finally have a podcast, and that was because of Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. For one, it's free. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. So it's really easy. And on top of that, it will get your podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many more. Many that I hadn't even heard of before Anchor. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. So you don't have to build up this huge audience first. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one spot. So what I need you to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started with your own podcast. Because you have a purpose and you have a voice that someone's waiting to hear. So you have made it to the love lesson. So that's the most important part of the show. Does a man need a wife? What's the lesson in all of this? I think there's a lesson for definitely singles from a woman's point of view, which is what I'm going to offer first. And then, of course, Mr. Hester will share what a man's point of view is on this. When I was a single woman, I noticed that men that didn't really see the value in having a wife, they would treat me in a certain way. So there were signs that they weren't really that serious and they weren't thinking about anything long term. We didn't have conversations about the future together. They may have just gotten out of a relationship. So that was like kind of a red flag to where, of course, they're not going to be looking for qualities of a wife because they're still trying to heal from the heartbreak that they just went through. And then you would have the inconsistent communication. So that would kind of make me a little confused because it was like the hot cold kind of thing. So I didn't really understand because with men like that, some of them were acting like they needed a wife and saying that they needed a wife. But at the end of the day, it is really about purpose, like finding your partner in purpose. So if you really can't, if you as a woman, if I were to see a man and see that I couldn't really add anything to his life, then I wasn't interested. So I think the lesson in it all, from a woman's perspective, is to make sure that you can add some value. And if you see, say, if you think that you can add value and you see the man is not in a place to where he can receive the value that you offer, then you let him stand where he is. Like, don't try to continue to initiate contact and things with him when he's clearly not ready, or he clearly doesn't see the value, or if he's questioning you on what value you bring and things like that, and he can't see that. Then I think you had mentioned this before about him not knowing his purpose. So that's a sign he doesn't know his purpose as well. So I don't know. You might have the same lesson.
Because I didn't have to ask you.
You never did.
I didn't have to ask you. I knew.
Yeah.
So from that aspect, but see, my views on my personal relationship with the Lord um, makes my views on relationships and a lot of other things much different than a lot of people. A lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So my love lesson um, would be, first of all, heal. Because I'm gonna be honest, just I could hear when you were talking about these men
Yeah.
trying to, I hear anger, I
Mm-hmm.
hear frustration, I hear rejection, um, I hear disappointment, and they may not even be aware. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They may not even be aware of that, but I hear it. So my love lesson before you consider getting in a serious relationship, heal, see a therapist. Um, if you are a believer and you understand deliverance, get deliverance. Find somebody who does deliverance. Um, get yourself as clean as you possibly can, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Okay, that will be part of my love lesson. And another thing I would say is chase God. Don't chase purpose. Don't make purpose an idol. Keep God first. And I promise you, if marriage is something that you desire, um, God will do it for you. He will do it. He is faithful. I am a witness My beautiful wife is right here. He will do it. That's it.
Well, that was really encouraging. So hopefully, those that are having those disappointing feelings and those feelings of frustration, because it can be frustrating when you're out there dating and it's just not, and you haven't, especially if you haven't found the Lord. And so that's why we record this podcast, because you just never know who might have one of these questions. And I post topics in the form of a question because I know that these are questions that people have, and they're just kind of looking like, okay, do I even need a wife, or if a woman is listening to this and she's thinking like, do men even think they need wives anymore? Because my goodness.
I'm gonna say this too. Success can be dangerous in that way.
Yeah.
Because society determines a man's success by his financial power, his ability to provide. Also, a man's ability to provide. A lot of Chris, I agree with Chris Rock. Chris Rock said yes. Chris Rock, because I've seen it. Chris Rock said, "Dogs get unconditional love." What else did he say?
I think I remember that joke.
Dogs get unconditional love. Something else gets unconditional love. But the only is a man. He does not get unconditional, especially black man, does not get unconditional love. His love is the love he gets is based on his ability to provide.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
inclined to agree.
Yeah, I do remember that joke.
So the danger of that is success. If I had reached a certain financial plateau at an earlier age, I wonder if I'd have been as interested in marriage as I was. If that makes sense.
Yeah. But you said you had two parents that were married and for a long time. So I don't know. I think you would have still been interested because that's what you knew.
But they were one was is very interesting because the culture was totally different in both houses.
I know, but they were still both married.
One was very traditional, and the other one we kind of considered modern. So they were still very different. Still different culture.
Sure. But no marriage, if you grew up in a house that nobody was married and you didn't really see any successful marriages, and you become successful financially, I think you definitely would be like, now, why do I need a wife? Now, what? What is that for?
Because I'm going to tell you what men consider, and all men consider it. Okay, if we get married and have kids and something happened, everything that I worked for, that she didn't have nothing to do with, she don't take half. I'm cool. And I get it.
I think I get that part because that sucks, but I think it's the kids part. If she does have children, then wouldn't you want your children to be taken care of?
Sure, let them live with it. And here's what some men will argue. Sure, I'll take care of them. Let them live with me.
Yeah, and they could, but
especially if it's a son.
Sure, but the problem with that is that they still have a mom. So you don't want to deprive your child, whether it's male or female, of their other parent. That's not giving them everything they deserve. So,
but if she decides to walk away, because statistics show that I believe it's up there. It's above 70%.
Yeah.
70% of divorces are initiated by the female.
Mm-hmm.
So at least 70. So, guys, maybe a lot of guys might look at that as it's a crapshoot.
Maybe, but I would have to look at that data a little further because I know I initiated a divorce because my
Yeah.
ex-husband was very slow to get business taken care of. And he had already moved in with someone, has started a whole new life. So would I look like
well,
not initiating a divorce? And that's other women's issue as well, where their man has gone off and started another life and
that ain't no
they
man.
haven't their husband on paper has gone off and started another life, so they just want to. I know I wasn't alone because I had friends going through the same type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So as a woman, we just wanted our business taken care of, and the men they were not willing to take care of that part of it because they feel like they could be married to another woman and in a relationship with another woman and still treat the woman that they're in a relationship with like she's basically their wife, and she's not. Like, people function that way,
that's crazy.
But people do. So that's why I think women are just the ones that's taking care of the paperwork. I don't think it's that woman is walking away. I think the woman is taking care of the paperwork because the man is like, what do I need a wife for? They're like, I don't need, what do I need to even do that? Why would I prioritize doing that? I have a woman in my life and I love this woman, this new woman that I have in my life. Yes, you are my wife, but on paper, but I'm just going to get to that paperwork when I get to it, if I get to it.
Yeah, that's and I think another value, initially, that's right up there with the rest of them, is my wife hear from God. So when she suggests something, or when she brings something to the table, I can trust it, and vice versa. Her husband hears from God. So there is a level of trust that has been established. Because you brought up, what happened in your previous marriage. I've experienced that too. So there's a trust factor that has been established, to where we are comfortable with, sharing thoughts or what the Lord has shared with us in prayer or whatever it is, and we don't have to worry about, if it's something that's not particularly pleasant, because there's correction, there's rebuke, there's reproof, which is all a part of relationships, all a part of marriage. So if she tells me something that doesn't, I necessarily don't particularly want to hear, but it's the truth, that doesn't mean I'm going to go step out on her, and vice versa. So there's a level of trust that I think has only been established because of both of our faith in Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So I think since you brought up Christ, I think that's a good place to land on. That's a good place to land, because that is who provides the healing, and that is who provides the discernment as well, because that's what I was basically referring to as discernment. So you need both discernment and healing.
Yep. So I'll leave it at this. You want healthy relationships? Develop a healthy relationship with the Almighty, Jesus the Christ.
Well, amen. So thank you for tuning in, because I think you dropped the mic on that one. That was your love lesson.